I'm not up to date. Like, I don't. Welcome to the steps of the Church of the Good Shepherd. My name is the Reverend Deborah Woolsey, and it is my honor and joy to serve as the priest in charge here. Church of the Good Shepherd is delighted to continue to be part of this awesome tradition, and we welcome you here and are so honored again that we can begin our walk from our steps.
My gosh, look at you all. Take a look around. I'm serious. Look at you all. You look fabulous. 15 years ago today, many of you remember the events of that day. Many of you are young enough that if you do, your recollection is the hazy kind that may be part your own memory and is probably part the stories that you've heard from those close to and older than you. All of you have feelings about that day, and so do many others all around the world. For 15 years, we've been told that the events of September 11th, 2001 were momentous, that since then everything has changed. I think that's true. But I'm not sure the change has been for the better. Our world and the people in it are every bit as violent as we were before 9/11, if not more so. We still seek to mark each other as different, as somehow less, and therefore as deserving treatment we would not ourselves welcome or easily tolerate. We still seek to gain an advantage, to carve ourselves a disproportionately large slice of the pie, and to protect that advantage against those who believe they deserve a fair share. We're much the same, just as human as ever. Now, though, more than at any time I can remember, we have shown that we're willing to listen to those who seek to amplify these regrettable human tendencies for their own gain. That we're willing to allow them to inflame our fears against our fellow humans. We're urged to hate, to fear, and to mistrust others. Whether they be Muslims or immigrants or socialists or people of color or the poor or the old or the rural or refugees, and by all indications, we seem to be listening. This is the 6th annual 9/11 Interfaith Peace Walk here in Athens. And we keep doing it because the message continues to be needed. We need to counter divisive rhetoric with messages and images of unity and common humanity. We need to provide as counterpoint to the drumbeat of war, the gentle and inexorable sound of many, many feet walking toward a shared vision of a better, more peaceful world. When hope for justice seems far away, we need to feel the defiance of lifting our eyes and our hearts and our voices to proclaim that, yes, we have learned something in the last 15 years. And the lesson that we've learned is a saving lesson. A lesson that we know that we need to teach to others so that it spreads across our land and across the whole world. It's a movement. And again this year, it starts here as we walk for peace again. There are helpers here. They're wearing purple shirts like these. They know the route a little better than you do, where you need to be careful and where you can just freely walk right in the middle of the street. So pay attention to what they tell you and follow them where they lead you. They will not lead you astray. It's a walk for peace. It's a demonstration of peace. It's a way that we can be peace together. We'll show our community what that looks like. So please, as you walk, participate with that spirit in mind. Thank you for being here. Let's get started.
I didn't at the time. Oh, okay. I was like, I was and so we walk over
Why are you waking me up? So, yeah, even in the movie there was a single panoramic shot
One of them is walking together.
So it gets rid of all your emails. Because the more I got, the more I got. How I know it's not. And in political science, that's how
Yeah, so we took towards Hilal.
So I was much older.
May we teach our children to learn and to think
Well, you have to play.
He's cast off.
See, she's actually like.
It was at a birthday.
Hey, Connor! Like, how's it going?
I mean, I'll take it. Not up the steps, but just like
In the beginning, I would say Assalamu alaikum, which is translated, peace be upon you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for participating in this peace walk. My name is Abdul Wahab As-Sulami, the president of the Muslim Student Association here at Ohio University and the Islamic Center of Athens. Allah said in Quran, if anyone killed an innocent person, it would be as if he killed all humanity. And if anyone saved a life, it would be as he saved all humanity. Everyone is pure, unique, loving and important. We don't always act that way, but we all are loving and beautiful people inside. No one is born racist. No one is born homophobic. No one is born a terrorist. We always hear those stories that are about little kids who don't see any difference between people of different races or cultures or religions. They are happy to play with all kinds of kids. But sadly, as they grow up, they are taught to fear those who are different. They are taught to stereotype. They are taught to hate. They are taught to be indifferent. Difference is a good for our society, but divisions are bad for our society. Having different religions, cultures, languages, and worldview makes us human. I want this year to be a different than other years that people go in a walk. We need practical point that we can begin from here, from this peace walk, and spread them around the city, states, then countries. I suggest that we need to teach our children that they need to be exposed to others, to those who are different from them. We need to teach them how to embrace what makes them unique and special. We need to teach them cooperation. We need to teach them love. We need to educate our young in the art of kindness, not in the art of war. And I want you to spread through this walk peace. This year, we want to focus on our children, embracing our leaders' voice for peace and justice. We want to focus our children to speak up for what they believe in, for a better world, for equality, for interfaith peace and cooperation, for education, for love, and for so much more. We as a society often forget to listen to the children. Children have really important things to say. They have hopes and dreams, fears and ideas, and can think of ways to make the world a better place. So this year, this walk peace, let them teach us. Let them show us the fundamental truth that only children can see. And let us teach them as well. Teach them about love and cooperation. Teach them about embracing our differences. This year, let's teach each other. Let's come together and talk about peace. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about coming together as one. Every day we can give in a new beginning. Every morning the sun rises and we are giving another glorious day. Let this peace walk be a new beginning, as a new beginning for us as individual and for us as a community and for us as a world. Let this be a new day. Let this be a new sunrises coming to the world. Together we can overcome any obstacles. Together we can learn to love and come together, and together we can change the world. Thank you so much.
To stand with each other in a moment of silence, in recognition and remembrance of all who died on September 11th, 2001, of all who have died by violence in the days and weeks and months and years since then. May peace be upon their souls and be upon all of us. It's getting a little darker. When times seem dark and hope seems far away, there is redemption in acts of resistance. Acts as large as protest blockades. Acts as uplifting as walking down the middle of the street with a couple hundred of your best friends. Or acts as simple and small as lighting a single candle. Like the flame that has passed among you, such acts spread hope. If you don't have a candle, there are a few more.
Find someone who's got a tall candle or a match.
It may feel dark, it may look dark, but looking out from where I'm standing, I see light, I see lots of light. I see hope. I see resolution, determination. I see power. Like the flame you've passed among you, these acts spread hope, and hope seeds change. I said at the beginning of our walk that it starts here. But as my friend and Unitarian Universalist colleague, the Reverend Douglas Taylor, said, it can't stay here. We need to light the flame and then carry it with us into the dark places and anxious times we live in. We need to take the hope, the resolution, the determination, and the joy that we share at events like this and spread it far and wide. This is how change happens. So I want to sing a song. I am a more enthusiastic than skilled singer. I'm going to rely on you all to help me. It's not important that you sing well. It is important that you sing. And I would be super happy if you would sing loud. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We've lit the light, we're gonna let it shine. But it's gonna take time. And we're going to have to keep our eyes focused on the goal. We're going to have to remember where it is we're heading. We're going to have to sing another song. So if you've done this before, you might know the song. And if you haven't done this before, don't worry, because it's a really easy song. It's called There Is More Love Somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is justice. There is justice somewhere. There is justice somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is justice somewhere. idea how good you sounded. Evenings like this come to the community through the gifts and energies of so many. Right now, I want especially to mention and to thank the co-sponsors of the Interfaith Peace Walk. The International Student Union provided us with our fine banner. Hillel at Ohio University. The Multicultural Leadership Ambassadors. The Office of the Vice Provost for Diversity and Inclusion. Christ Lutheran Church. The Ohio University LGBT Center. The Episcopal Church of the Good Shepherd. First United Methodist Church in Athens. Athens First Presbyterian Church. The Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Athens. And our gracious hosts and the preparers of the repast that you are about to enjoy over there, the Muslim Student Association. But most of all, thanks to all of you for joining us on this 6th annual Interfaith Peace Walk. And when you go, take this blessing with you. May peace be with you. May peace be upon you. May peace be among you. May peace be the gift you carry away from this walk, and may you share it extravagantly, courageously, and insistently with the world. Thank you for being here.
So we have a bunch of antique lead type that's locked into this chase. You can see there's no back, so if I loosened it up, all the pieces would fall on the floor. Old zinc engraving that I found in an antique shop.
Is this a printing press?
Yep, this is called a Kelsey Excelsior printing press, and it was built in the late 1800s and was marketed as like a print-at-home hobby press. It does the job. It's good for little demonstrations on the floor. There we go.
Wow.
Postcard. If anyone would like to try printing, you're welcome to print. And then just press down. A little late. I think you didn't get the crunch down. Well, I think you push it hard and then you kind of like snap it at the bottom.
Zinc plate.
Start doing multiple days, right? You can't hold them together for too long.
So is this operational right now?
Yeah. Kind of like marketed as a permanent home progress. So basically you just kind of push them slowly until and go a little further. It charges it, comes down, and then inks it, and then shop with the foot pedal and the wheel. It's basically the same, made the same type. Gotcha. So everything's kind of locked in there. You can see all the little spacers you have to put in between parts. So if I were to loosen that, all of those little pieces would just fall on the floor.
Stewart's Opera House was originally built in 1879. It was opened until 1924. So about 50 years. It was built by George Stewart. Before running Stewart's, ran canal boats on the Hocking Canal right out here. Old US 33, Canal Street, used to be the canal, which is why houses are backwards in parts of that road. George would run showboats up and down the canal there and have entertainment. And one of his boats, the Arizona, capsized. Right around that time, I believe it was 1869 or so, George realized that Nelsonville probably could have a permanent theater. Up until I believe the 40s, so Nelsonville was bigger than Athens. So back in the 1860s, this place was booming. The canal came down, mining was starting, brick manufacturing, and then obviously as we went into the late 19th century, early 20th century, railroads, coal, everything else. And I always bring this up that in a rare bit of Appalachian 19th century feminism, Nancy Dew, is my understanding, owned this lot. George married Nancy. Of course, it was 19th century, so it immediately became his and not hers. And you might recognize that name, too, from the Dew Hotel down the street here. If you've ever been to Fullbrooks, that's the old Dew Hotel. So George opened this place up, built with Nelsonville brick from right up the road, and started having events in here. You'd have touring national acts and theater productions, but you'd also have these smaller regional, they call them Black Diamond circuits, and they'd go to here, they'd go up to Shawnee, they'd go to Athens, and Gloucester, all these places that had little opera houses and theaters at the time. You know, kind of theater productions or variety shows. They weren't really ever opera, and the reason they called it an opera house was, well, because it made it sound fancy. Much like today, and I say this as a musician and someone that works at the opera house currently, theaters weren't seen as quite the most upstanding places to spend your time. So the idea was that if you call it an opera house, well, that sounded totally all right for everybody and real classy, and it worked. There wouldn't have been much opera, but a lot of theater productions, a lot of sort of variety shows, community events. So much like we consider ourselves now to be a cornerstone of public square, a gathering place for the community here in Nelsonville and Athens County, it would have been the same way back then. So you would have had high school graduations, maybe even union meetings, political rallies, and it would have been right in the center of town and kind of a place for everyone to get together for those things. Much like now, as you can see from all of our fencing and construction going on, this place is always being added onto too, which is something that's very difficult when you're trying to be the amateur historian here and you don't have anyone to talk to from 1924. Sometimes it's literally looking at two pictures and saying what's in one and not in the other. But we do know that right away there wasn't a balcony in this place, there wasn't box seats, so those things all got added on as time went along. Up above your heads here is the original sound system of Stewart's Opera House, our acoustical dome. And so this was how sound got dispensed in here originally, and it was said that in Stewart's that an actor could whisper up on the stage and you could hear it in the balcony. That's a pretty good tagline. We'll go with that. I don't know whether that's true, but we'll say it. We'll say it. And even now, with modern amenities like electricity and sound and an amazing technical director who knows this room, all of that really adds even more to sound and seeing a show here. This theater is built for sound. It was built for performance. The balcony is original, is that correct?
They call it the gallery.
The gallery, yes. And so this back of the floor back here in the balcony, was fixed up a little bit after the fire, but this was the original gallery with more seats. And if you could believe it, 800 people or so would be in this place when it was first opened. We see 395 now, 465 at a sold-out show. And just picture that twice as much. It's kind of unbelievable. But I guess when you don't have fire codes, the bathrooms. The art you see on the front here, on the trim of the balcony, the border, when the fire happened, burned off a few layers of wallpaper that were up there, and there was this original painting that's back there. And they had a Nelsonville artist who's living in Germany at the time come in and recreate it. So this balcony, if you were to look at it, looks, for the most part, how it would have looked when this place was first opened. The chairs you're sitting in are original to the theater. Happy accidents that sometimes happen, and they were put into storage a few months before that fire in 1980. They've been refurbished and recushioned. You'll see little plaques on the back of each one. The balcony seats are from the Majestic Movie Theater. We had a fire in 1980, of course, and I don't want to get too far ahead into that. The way that it's laid out here now, the way and position of everything that's in here was done with the original layout intention in mind. So even though we're obviously half the amount of people that they maybe had in here at some point, these chairs are set out in roughly the same way, not packed in as tight, but balconies in the same spot, box seats are in the same spot, stages in the same spot. 1924 to 1997 is a huge chunk of time, obviously. And when this place was closed up, it sat here with everything in it. And these downstairs places were still businesses. This theater was sitting up here on the second floor empty with everything in it still. And so in the 70s, a group of people came along. The Hocking Valley Museum of Theatrical History, it rolls right off the tongue. Not quite as good as Stewart's. Their idea was to have some performance in here, but they saw this space as sort of a time capsule. All posters were up there. There was a thunder machine. There was props. It was sort of a 1879 theater trapped in time. Their idea was they would do performances here, but it would be a museum, a field trip. This place needed a lot of work, so if they raised a couple $100, they'd fix a doorknob, or do a little painting, or fix the ceiling a little bit. Plaster was falling from the ceiling. It was in rough shape. No HVAC units, no elevator, no fire code from 1924. They didn't have bathrooms in here, from our understanding. So as much as electricity and that kind of stuff is important to get you guys in here for a show, a bathroom's also a nice touch. So it took a little while to get this place going again. So they just did what they could. They started doing things. They got it to a point where they could at least have people in here and charge them a few bucks for a tour as a fundraiser and show them the space. They started making inroads, they formed a board, they opened up bank accounts, and they started to figure out how they were going to make this place an opera house. It took until 1997 eventually to do that. And the reason why is because in 1980, after only a short period of time of them working on this, we had $1 million fire in this building. And that's $1 million at $1980. And some of you I talked to actually here before we started had been in here before the fire and seen some of this stuff. It devastated the theater. This whole space was gone. The top crashed in on this place like it just got taken off. Look at the front of the Opera House, you can see the brick change color. And that's because any of that brick that's up top was gone in that fire. It destroyed the theater. And there were some people that wanted to knock this place down, I think, before that even happened. Somehow, it got saved, and people believed that it could be fixed back. It took a really long time. It took 17 years. So in 1997, we reopened. Now, we do about 75 to 100 events a year here. And we put on the Nelsonville Music Festival as well. We have a huge arts education program that 7,000 K-12 students come and we're involved in each year. I think last year the numbers were 2,200 hours when we devoted to arts education. For one of the poorer parts of Southeast Ohio is an incredible thing for our young students who now view this place as their theater. It's theirs. They come to it 3 times a year for plays. They're in the after-school rock and roll program. And now there's generations getting raised here that know this place has been here the whole time. We're expanding our lobby to 3 times the size. It'll be able to seat 225 people for wedding receptions and events. We'll be able to fit all those people in here on a sold-out crowd. It's going to have a catering kitchen. That building that we had the fire in April is going to be an education and community center. The first floor is going to have big open space that we'll use for other events and will be available for rent. Second floor, the easiest way to sum it up is that it's going to be all production stuff, which is crazy. As someone that's worked here this long, you have to get a table out of the basement and run around up the steps. There's going to be right through this wall, more green rooms, bathrooms, showers, a freight elevator, so bands can load their equipment up without anybody seeing them. And then the third floor is going to be kind of devoted to education up there. So it's going to be a recording studio in back for all of our after-school music programs, and eventually for community members to come in and record their stories and personal histories. And that should mostly all be done in June of next year, June 2017. We will have a very big party, and I hope you all come back. Coming to see an act here and then going to see them again somewhere else. Or we've had people discover some of their new favorite music at Nelsonville at the music festival, and then we got a few of those bands coming here actually this fall. That the audience has sort of developed and opened up over the years. So this is the backstage of Stewart's Opera House. But welcome. It's a different way to see this theater. I talked about the damage from the fire, right? And I mentioned that some things in here were original. Well, the easiest way to kind of understand that is to look at the bricks back here. This dark brick that looks really old is really old. This wall right here probably saved this place last April, too. There was another brick wall buttoned right up against firewalls in all these old buildings. You'll see all this dark brick, and you see it even over here and kind of over there, and even on that wall. And usually when I start showing that to people, they're like, well, the fire wasn't that bad. I'm seeing this brick everywhere. But if you start to really look around, you realize all these parts that don't have that old brick. And what that means is those were gone. So this entire wall here, you can see where it comes back in. It's patched in over by the door there. This entire wall between the theater and the backstage was gone. And then if you look up at any wall back here up at a certain point, it changes to either cinder block or newer red brick. And that's because that was all gone too. These like old coal chimneys and all this kind of stuff back here that snake around up in the backstage wall. Our old Stewart sign that's up here when we have shows. But in old shots of Stewart's, old theater shots, I've never seen this. I don't know whether it was on stage. I don't know if it's from the riverboat. I don't know if it was on the sidewall outside or if it's from another shop that they owned or what. See, it had spots for bulbs up there. It lit up at one point. Every couple years or so, we get an electrical engineer in the audience who gets really excited by that. And this is a backdrop at every Stewart's Opera House performance. It's become part of our bridge from the past, the relic from the past that we don't totally know everything about. Also back here in the sort of modern end of things is our backstage cabling system. These cables here control everything up here. And each one of these rods that we have that goes across corresponds to a number, to a cable. And if you go up there, you can raise and lower it or counter it. So if we want to change lights or we want to take the sign off for an event, if someone's having it in here and doesn't want it, we lower them down that way and change it here on ground level. And there's also a movie screen up in there that we can bring down for when we show films in here. Originally, this would have looked very different. This whole side of the stage was dressing rooms. You would have had a stairwell that went up there and went into the dressing rooms. In the cabling is an old dressing room door. So that would have been the star entrance. They didn't have to go up all these terrifying steps. The gallery actors, I guess, would have. This is one of the original dressing rooms. This would have been exact copy on the other side of the stage.
So how many rooms is this?
Well, you'll see they're numbered 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then there's 12 back there. And 1 through 6 would have been on the other side of the stage. And what's really cool about this construction happening right now is you guys get to see something again that nobody's seen other than us for the most part, which is the other side of this door. Nobody's seen that. I mentioned the door on the stage. Well, we used to have sinks and vanities and drywall here that was not historic. Those have been pulled out. And now we have this awesome door back there. The eventual plan here when we are doing our renovations is this is going to be a stairwell here that's going to go down. We have a costume shop that's in that other stairwell from the theater. So it's going to be kind of a 2-level green room. And the stairwell is going to keep, as far as I understand, the exposed brick in that wall. When Miriam came and literally just started scrubbing and vacuuming very old things. And the big one for Uncle Tom's Cabin, which is, she made that one, it popped so much. Colors coming back on it that I had never seen, greens and all these things. And
Yeah, I think the whole idea is to keep it on the wall.
yes.
You know
Oh yeah. Yep. And so this is actually it worked pretty good. It worked better than she even thought. And so the plan would be once we're done with construction, we'll get her back out here to keep kind of chipping away at it. So it's definitely a labor of love.
famous Lotta Fay. She was one of the most productive dairy cows that was bred here at the dairy barn and subsequently produced the most milk ever for the dairy barn. Famous in that she did win the Blue Ribbon Award for dairy cows at the Ohio State Fair. And not only was the dairy barn known for its dairy cows, but also the development of the TB vaccine for dairy cows. So it was a place of innovation and production, a commitment to sustainability. In 1953, the dairy barn was producing millions of pounds of milk and 17,000 pounds of butter. She didn't produce all of that milk, but that was the highest producing year for the dairy barn. 53 million pounds of milk and 17,000 pounds of butter. There were 7 barns. She was the champion of the particular year, yeah.
People here. Most are drinking wine, and I think 2 are drinking beer. One is from Jackie O's, actually. It's a Mystic Mama. That's not awkward. Yeah, so we have one of these every month. It's usually the 3rd Thursday of the month from 5:30 to 8. And we have different themes every single week. And our education director, Lynn Stanton, she kind of explains the background and how like color schemes work, and then every single canvas looks completely different, so it's really awesome. And you can actually go in there and walk around if you want to. I actually already have taken pictures, so they're all comfortable with being on camera. Plaid shirt, but not quite, you know? Yeah, it's like plaid shirt. Yeah. There you go. There you go.
She's already started what?
I know, like right before.
Like speeding and he ain't ready, that ain't my problem.